I'm going to tell you how that's good. So I want to share first a little bit about my background. I grew up in rural Kentucky. I'm born and raised there, only child. And as a result of that, being in rural Kentucky, there wasn't a lot of other kids nearby for me to go play with or hang out with. So I hung out with my parents a lot and went to places with them where they were hanging out with their friends. So at a very early age, I started observing grown-ups, how they acted, how they interacted. Kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly of those different types of relationships between adults, friends, siblings, that type of thing. And how that served me over time is I really learned how to distinguish myself at an early age as someone who listened. It seemed like everybody would like to kind of sit down and talk with me about any problems they were having or any issues they were having. I was always a good listener. And then, quickly it became, don't ask my opinion if you don't want it, because if you ask it, I'm going to give it. So over time, as I started in my nursing career and began working in the healthcare system, I knew that I wanted to do more. And in particular, when I started working with patients with obesity, I started working in metabolic and bariatric health. And you may be looking at me and thinking, well, you should start with treating yourself because, obviously you have obesity. And that's one of the things of really wanting to work with this population is kind of overcoming the initial response and the initial bias and stigma that sometimes come up because obesity is a very visual disease. We wear our weight for the world to see. So therefore, we tend to invite we don't meaningfully invite judgment, but it's sometimes kind of passed upon us. So when I first started working in bariatrics and obesity, I really, really wanted to be a part of the big organization. And it was the ASMBS organization. So I volunteered first thing. And they're like, well, you have to be a member. Okay, there's a process to become a member. So I did that. And I told my boss, hey, I really want to be a part of this organization. I want to be on a committee. And he's like, well, you can do that. I can write a letter recommending that you be on the committee, but the person that had your job before is one of the people that decides who's on the committees. And he's like, I'm not sure how that's going to work. I'm like, oh, no, I'm so energetic and so enthusiastic, and I have all these ideas, and I want to do it, and, it's free. We're volunteering, right? It's free. So he wrote me a letter, and I sent it in, and I was heartbroken because I wasn't chosen to be a volunteer. So it's like, okay, so maybe it's that I don't know enough. I'm really new in this one specific area of nursing. So I started looking at what are all of the jobs that nobody else wants to do that I can volunteer to be a part of. And that's where the message that I want you to take home lies is that if you are new to an area and you want to become the go-to person in that area, or you want to increase your expertise in that area, find the people in the organizations that are like the go-to people now and look at what they need. Not necessarily what you want or you want to get from them, but what do they need? How can you serve them? And that's how you start developing your relationship. You become more and more well thought of in that organization because you're willing to take on the stuff that nobody else really wants to do. And not only do you take it on and get it done, you kick its butt. You get it done really well. And then people start saying, because like me, he was like always volunteering, he was always doing all these different things, and he stopped me one day, we were at the conference, and he said, you know, the reason people always ask us now to do stuff is because we'll get it done and we won't screw around with it because we're so busy we don't have time to bump it down the list. We got to get it in, get it done. So I continued to, say, pick me. And 1 year after the conference, I got this email that they were starting 2 new committees, and they wanted me to chair one of those. So it was the Clinical Issues and Guidelines Committee, which if you're in healthcare, that's kind of like a big deal to help develop guidelines. So I got to choose the people that I wanted to be a part of that. They sent me a list of resumes, and normally I always try to support and lift up all other women, but the woman that was on that list that wanted to be on my committee that kept me from volunteering in the first place, just didn't have room for her, I'm sorry. That was the one time I let the little snark come out. Sometimes evil Pam comes out to play. But so, what happened is I, got to choose my people for that committee, and they were awesome. They were some of the greatest group of people to work with. I chaired that committee for 7 years. And during that time, I got asked to be on the executive council. So I went from, working my first job in bariatrics, was in a hospital that nobody had heard of, started a program where they'd never done bariatric surgery before. My office was literally like one of those temporary classrooms you see outside of the schools that have too many kids because the hospital is under construction. So it was so far to walk from my office to the cafeteria. I didn't even know what they served. I brought my lunch every day. I came in, I sat down, and Google was my best friend. So I figured out how to put this together. Volunteered. And along the way, I had started, I don't know who earlier mentioned side gigs, but I had started, I had my own consulting business. And it was always kind of an afterthought, like if a vendor wanted to pay me to speak somewhere, that was how I got paid. Well, a couple of years ago, I put my trust in a lady who was starting, or she had a business for a long time, and she had asked me to be a part of it. And I said, okay, this sounds wonderful. No more hospital setting, no more, I can work from home. Oh, this sounds great. So packed up my family and moved from Tennessee here to Texas, here to San Antonio, October 2017.
Yeah.
I worked for 6 months and got 0 paycheck. My husband worked for this company as well, and when it closed, he was owed 5 paychecks. So I decided that, okay, that side gig I've had here all along, I got to figure out how to pay the rent now that we're here. I got to figure out how to keep my 3 dogs and dog food because my oldest is a diva. She's a diva dog. So I thought, well, let's put some time, interest, and energy into this side gig, my consulting business. And I reached out to my colleagues that I had served with in so many different volunteer positions. Everything that Dee read off on my bio, those were all volunteer positions where I've served over now right at 12 years at a couple of those organizations. And I didn't ask them for money. What I asked them for was advice. And I asked them to help me figure out what I should really focus on and concentrate on. And the question that was put back to me was, what do people always ask you about? What do they always ask you to talk about, or they ask you to do? And it's like, well, they ask me when they're starting a program where they get a new coordinator, how to train that person, what education they need. So that's when I opened Bariatric Universities online in May of this year, and it's just continuing education things and courses. And I kept kind of thinking about it, and thinking about that big conference I like to go go to every year. And that, now because I'm not working for a hospital, there's nobody to pay my way to go there. So I have to come up with that money on my own. And it's like I hear from other coordinators what's going on with that. How do we pay for this? And I thought, what if they didn't have to pay to go to a conference? What if they could access like everything at a conference but without going? So this coming week, actually, I'm launching. It's like Netflix for healthcare coordinators. So it's a monthly subscription service where they can get their education, they can get the materials they need, they can talk to me, and I can help them grow the same way that I grew. And what I've learned from every one of the speakers this morning is that while I started off doing it very involuntarily over the last 2 years here, my career goals and aspirations, my living my life, not what someone else has written for me, has brought me to this moment here, where I'm with all of you. So grateful that I've no longer had meetings to have to go sit through. My 3 little fluffy butts are my assistants, and they're who we have staff meetings with at home. I don't make the big bucks like I did, before, but I'm so much happier. My blood pressure's lower, just like you said. I mean, I could, like 2 years ago, would be sitting in my office and just like feel pounds of stress sitting on me. And, I always joke now that my boss can be a real pain in the butt, but that's me. So I have a little talk and give myself an attitude adjustment. So again, please consider if there's an area that you are wanting to learn more in, that you're wanting to shift your career to, volunteer. I'm volunteering now, branched out to the Rosie Network, which is something that is open for military spouses and veterans that are wanting to become entrepreneurs. So we have a chapter here in San Antonio, and that's, I meant to bring information, but my computer died. So that's me, that's my whole story, that's my, leave it with you, please volunteer. Doesn't always have to be something that is going to serve an end purpose, just makes you feel better, but also do something volunteer-wise that is going to help you grow not